Guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a treat for you guys for the last week of Spooktober. So to celebrate a quarantine Halloween, I bring you guys a week of scary stories with me getting ready so you guys can enjoy me doing my makeup and listening to some spooky and creepy stories. Do remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel as it will help me in the long run to make more interesting videos for you guys in the future. So let's not waste any more time and get on to this Spooktober edition. Get ready with me. I hope you guys enjoy. Fair warning, if you guys hear my children at the back, just try your best to ignore their sounds because they're children and I just cannot tie up their mouths and So the name of this story is The Luigi Board Knocks Back. In high school, my friends and I were messing around with the Luigi board one night. We had done it before and nothing remarkable had ever happened. Like any other children, trying new things and then regretting it in the end. Sounds like a story I'm very familiar with. We usually did it to try and scare each other or our girlfriends. We had thought that this was just a joke. Until it turns out to be the worst nightmare of our lives. That night, there was no one else at home except the 7 of us. We were together around the board and one of the girls wanted to try it out as she has never done it before. But this time, it was different. The board misspelled some of the words every time. So the board was also giving us answers that were historically correct for our town. Long story short, the spirit claimed to be a 10-year-old boy who died on the property in the 1880s and was buried there too. In an unmarked grave. My friend's house was on the farm in the edge of the town. We were all a little freaked out because the board had never been so detailed and consistent. However, being the teenagers they are, they were a little skeptical and were all assuming one of us was trying to scare the rest. Oh my gosh, I have no idea how these YouTubers even do it. Like, I have a mental breakdown every time I try to film a video where I'm trying to speak because it takes me hours, and being a mother of 3 kids, I don't have hours. Just pray for me that I get through this week that I promised you guys. I really want to do it. I want to challenge myself. Pray for me. So finally, my friends asked if the spirit could do something to prove that he was there with us. The little thingy on the Ouija board went to yes, and it spelled out K-N-O-C-K. And everybody in the room stopped. We stared at each other silently. Then suddenly, we hear a tap, tap, tap on the window next to us. The lights were on outside, and there was absolutely nobody outside that we could see. Me and my friends never touched the board again. What do you think about this story? I feel like it wasn't really that scary for me, but I tried to tone it down for you guys because I know my followers are a little scared, and a lot of you guys unfollowed me during Halloween. I'm a little upset, but it's understandable because I have a freaky mind. So the next story is called Forgotten Memory. Growing up, my bedroom was the only one that faced the front of the house. When I was 8 or 9, I woke up to my dad calmly and firmly telling me to get up. Go to the bathroom and shut the door, my dad said. I was annoyed because I was half asleep, but I listened. Apparently, I was more tired than I realized because I fell asleep on the bathroom floor. The next morning, I asked my mom what happened. She seemed oblivious but confused. I looked at my dad like she was crazy, and I asked him why he had woken me up. He denied doing it. I became frustrated to the point of tears, but I ultimately let it go. Okay, this story has me on the edge. Like, what is wrong, Dad? Fast forward to college. I was home one break and I decided to ask again. I had thought of that night, off and on, for years, and it still bothered me. This time, my dad goes, I was wondering if you even remembered that. Turns out that a lot of houses on the block were being vandalized and robbed all those years ago. Someone had broken into the garage and was inside the house. My dad heard it happen and quietly got me to safety. He was never caught. However, my parents didn't want a terrified kid on their hands. So for years, they pretended like nothing ever happened. It wasn't supernatural, but it was unsettling for sure. My kids know everything. They are so aware of such situations. Like, for example, if we go to Pakistan or stuff. Like, for example, if we go to Pakistan, like, they are so aware of such situations that they know how to handle or let us know if they hear a sound or anything like this. Even for us, our parents were always telling us to be aware of your things and your surroundings. So, poor guy, I feel so sad. So this story is called A Clockwork Orange Style Break-In. This story happened to the person's sister. Her husband and her had their first child few months prior. My brother-in-law was working the graveyard shift at his job. Around 2 a.m., she heard a loud knocking on the back door. She went to go check it out and saw a lady banging on the door, asking for my sister to let her in. Will you ever let a lady in at 2 a.m.? I mean, I'm a very nice person, but it's scary. I mean, not even the fact that it's a ghost, but I could end up dead because this lady is a serial killer. Depends. Really depends on my mood. So the lady told my sister that her husband just beat her down the street and was looking for her. My sister was hesitant to let her in. Because she had a newborn baby on her hands, and all this commotion would wake her baby up and she didn't want it to disturb her baby's sleep. So she told the lady that the best she could do was call the police for her. The lady told my sister to not call the police and to let her in. This sounds like it's about to get crazy. This is where my sister got suspicious. She went to get her phone and called 911. When she went back to the door, the lady was gone. The police arrived a few minutes later and they told my sister that the same situation happened a few streets down. Apparently, the couple would do this act to get into people's homes. It is definitely creepy, and this is the exact reason why you should never let anybody in at 2 a.m. at night. So the next story is a bit long, so it's not that long, but it's a bit long. So this story is called The Phantom's Alarms. And I would freaking hate this ghost because I hate alarms. Because everybody in my house goes to school, goes to work, and there's like so many alarms going on in the same house, and we live in a flat, so you can hear every little thing going on in the next room. So I hate them so much. At the house my dad lived at the time, it was really old. It was built in the 1880s. Why does everything scary has to be from the 1880s? There were plenty of times I'd be sitting in the living room and hear the cabinets opening and closing in the kitchen. Why are kitchens so scary? I just don't understand. A lot of the situations people dying in the kitchen because knives are there, people hearing the tap open, which I hear it too. Why are freaking kitchens haunted? Are the ghosts hungry? Why? I just wonder. I most definitely feel like the ghosts are really hungry, just want to see what is in your fridge or your cabinets. What kind of cereal do you eat? That sort of situation. It was just me and my dad that lived in that house, and you could clearly see when his bedroom door was shut and he was asleep, but still hear it. Normally my dad worked 7 to 3, but occasionally he would work a PM or overnight shift. One night he was working till 11. I was 17 at that time. Around 8 or so, I was sitting in the room playing Borderlands, and I think I hear footsteps coming from the living room. I assume my dad's home early. I keep hearing the steps, so I pause the game and listen. The footsteps are slowly pacing back and forth between the living room and the kitchen. Every time it took 15 paces to the living room, 15 back to the kitchen. Needless to say, I did not sleep that night. I had another situation at my mom's house, but this happened 2 years prior to this situation. Out of nowhere, my alarm clock would go off at midnight every night. I assumed it was busted and I got rid of it. Fast forward 2 years, my mom gets another brand new alarm clock for my room, and this was when she was still 17. Suddenly the alarm goes off at midnight. I thought nothing of it, turned it off. Happened again the next night. And then my sister pointed out that the one I had before it did the same thing. So I checked and made sure no alarms were set. Double checked at 11:56. Sure enough, 4 minutes later, the alarm goes off. Freaked out, I threw it out. The next night was my dad's night to have me. I had a buddy of mine over and my dad was working that night. He left for work around 2 a.m. and my friend just brought over an iPod dock to listen to music. So about 2 minutes after my dad leaves, we hear an alarm clock coming from my room. I went in, and you know how if you just plug in a clock without setting it, the numbers just blink on and off? Well, it was doing that. As soon as I picked it up, the clock set itself to 12 and it just turned off by itself. Confused. So this story wasn't that scary, but I feel like if I was the one experiencing what this girl has experienced, I would be freaking out too. So the next story is called My Mom's Scary Boyfriend. So, already scary to me. About 5 years ago, my mom started dating a guy she met on a dating site. I am so not comfortable with dating sites. I just feel like they're just waste. That part is fine. I just recently started dating the woman who would later become my wife, and we had met online. So this person is going to refer to their girlfriend as the wife because she's gonna become his wife. Anyway, my wife and I never really liked this guy. We didn't think he was mean or anything like that. He was quiet, he kept his eyes closed a lot, and occasionally said odd things like offering my wife a chocolate and then popping one in his mouth, closing his eyes and moaning as he let it melt in his mouth. I'm creeped out. I do not agree with this boyfriend. Man, if somebody did this in front of my face, the punch is right in his face, and I would be moaning while watching my punch melt in his face. I mean, that sounded gross. Ignore I ever said that. Just before Christmas, my mom and this guy started having some difficulties. My wife and I were visiting her for the holidays, and she dropped all of her problems on us, and we listened carefully. We told her our opinions and suggested that she would be better off without him. She already had her mind made up though, and decided to break up with him on Christmas Eve. Already feel like something bad is gonna go down. We spent the night at my mom's and got up early on Christmas morning to visit my dad at his house. We didn't plan to spend the night at my dad's, but we got snowed in, which was actually a nice Christmas surprise. The next day we left as soon as we could to get through the snow, and my wife suggested that we stop by my mom's house on the way so that we could see if she was okay. My wife just had a really bad feeling about my mom's ex-boyfriend. My mom's car, so we let ourselves in. That's when we see blood oozing out of the refrigerator's water dispenser. Oh my god. I kind of feel like it's the boyfriend that's in there because the mom killed the boyfriend. Or I don't know, a puppy or something. It had filled up the spill container and was leaking into the floor. I told you, I don't understand. I really don't understand why people just do not want me to film. It filled up with the spill container and was leaking into the floor, and it made a puddle. My wife screamed and I freaked out. I fully expected to see my mom's head in the freezer. I nervously opened the freezer to find a bag of frozen cherries. I really thought that my mom was decapitated by her creepy ex-boyfriend. And the story ends! I truly want to know where the creepy boyfriend went and what happened. I'm so annoyed. Really annoyed by this story. Like, I really wanted to know what happened. Did she break up? Did they fight? I would never know what happened. And it's just, it feels like the experience you get by watching the Netflix Unsolved mystery series. It just ticks that nerve. Moving on to the next and final story. Hopefully the ending is way better than this story. And by the way, I didn't read these stories beforehand, so my experiences might be as real as you guys. So the next story is called A Ghost Testing the Water. I currently live in a haunted house. I've heard voices, footsteps, lights have been turning on and off. One of the ghosts has a thing for silverware because I hear it moving in the drawers all the time. And sometimes a knife or two will end up in the wrong slot in the drawer. But the strangest and the scariest experience I've had was the first night I spent in this house. I wasn't finished moving in. There were boxes everywhere. I didn't even have my mattress up there yet. I was bedding on an old futon mattress, watching a video on my phone, when I get the pins and needles feeling of my feet falling asleep, except it wasn't on my feet. It was on top of my head, in a shape of a hand. How do you even tell that? Trying to see if I can feel a hand. I said good night, turned off my lights, and tried to sleep. When I woke up, my closet door was open. But other than that, everything was otherwise untouched. I guess whoever my roommate is just wanted to check who I was on my first night. If I was in that house and somebody freaking touched my head, I would be dead and my spirit would be in that room. Fingers crossed that I do not have to be in such situations ever.